Tree Nuts, we make professional, historic videos all over the country and currently have videos in 25 states and even a few international. Let's face it, nobody wants to read anymore. As a matter of fact, nobody wants to even watch long videos, which is why I'm going to keep this real quick. Moving into the future, how are we going to educate the public on all the historic treasures that are found in every community? We have found the answer. Short, entertaining, and to-the-point videos with lots of shots and views that are relevant to the subject. These videos are shared on social media and are the fastest and least expensive way to educate the community on the history of your area. We have experience working with historical organizations as well as city or county tourism departments and Chamber of Commerce's to produce these videos for their use. Our clients are provided with copies of any video produced as well as online links to the videos that they can easily add to their websites. Let us document and produce videos of just a few or all the historic sites in your area. You will find our rates extremely affordable and well below the industry standard for media production. We are passionate about preserving and documenting as many historical sites as we can, and we would love to work with you. For more information, contact me directly at russ@familytreenuts.org or my personal phone at 859-314-1976. And remember, Family Tree Nuts, let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree. And we are live. We are live. What is going on, guys? This is Colonel Carson with Family Tree Nuts, and I am so excited about this show. Who do we have with us tonight?
Well, we have my mother, Joyce Ann Sawyers, and you have Tim King. I'm her son.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're going to do what's called an ancestry reveal. Tim, you're a client of Family Tree Nuts, and Dustin Blackson and myself have been working on your tree here, and we are going to do a reveal.
We're excited about this. Yeah. Hey, man, you all did a great job on, my dad is deceased, but you did his side, and awesome job. We were so thrilled and excited, and now we're doing my mother's side.
That's right.
So this is awesome. We're good.
Yeah, this is great. This is a little different kind of a show than we normally do. And before I forget, make sure, folks, let us know where you're watching from. But folks can chime in, Tim. I don't know if you knew that. They can chime in and they can ask questions.
Tell us what you think. We love it.
Yeah, ask questions along the way. You see Don says he's enjoying from Clarksville, Arkansas. And Randy Rhodes is watching. He says, hey there. But ask us some questions. Now, I'm going to try to go fast through your family tree. Now, what you took part in so far with Mom there is what we call the Pioneer Package. And our Pioneer Package is I see Randy's watching from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We're actually going to talk about Pennsylvania. Uh-oh, there's a little spoiler.
All right.
You had some people in Pennsylvania. But Columbus, Indiana. We're going to talk about Indiana tonight too. So lots of different places. But
you know what? I thank everybody for tuning in. I hope this is something that you enjoy. I hope this is something that will make you want to find your family tree. So Russ, I've known Russ. There's no doubt about that. I've known Russ for quite a few years, but Russ has really brought things into our life that we didn't even know.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely. And you're gonna hear some stuff tonight. Our Pioneer Package is what we do is we trace one of your parents' trees as far back as we can absolutely verify with some paperwork. We verify that usually gets us to the early 1800s, and that's exactly what this tree is. If we go back into what we call our settlers package, we go back further in time, kind of thing. So what we're going to do tonight, Tim, is we're going to talk about the ancestry of your mom sitting next to you over the last 2 centuries.
Awesome. We're ready for it, buddy.
Yes.
So before we get totally started there, Well, we got a few people. Vanessa says hello from Norwalk, Ohio. Richard says hey from Lancaster, Kentucky. Rick Perkins.
Garrett, Kentucky.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah.
And Todd says hey from Bolingbrook, Illinois. So you see, we've got folks watching from all over the place.
Wow.
But it before we get totally rocking here on the reveal, because man, I spend way more time on your tree than I spend on most. Because
Thank you.
your tree is exciting as can be, man. And yeah, you're gonna find some cool stuff. I keep saying that. Before I get started, what do you know? What do we know about your mother's tree? She's right there with us, Joy. So what, Miss Sawyer?
Well, the basic stuff that she's told me.
Your mother.
Yeah, my mother. That her family was from Sweden, and they moved over here. They lived in Rockcastle County, Kentucky. Built a little farm down there, a little log cabin down there next to the Indian Creek, and that's between Rockcastle and Jackson County. And she also told me her father was a postmaster down in McKee, Kentucky.
Surely not.
So I don't know if you found that, but that's what he was.
And your daddy.
And then my daddy,
Which was a Gill,
Yeah.
Gill.
Morgan Gill, he came from a family that were people that raised cattle. They owned farmland down in London, Kentucky on Route 80. And he worked in the coal mines for a long time. He retired from there when he was 65 years old. So,
Okay.
That's it.
so he told me I didn't meet my grandmother and grandfather on his side because they were passed away, before I was born.
You say Russ, this man, he was a Marine.
Yes, and this might interest you, Russ. My father was a Marine.
Well, good. I'm glad of that.
Who's that?
Yeah, he was a Marine at a former Marine.
There ain't no
What's
formal
the-
Well, he
Hey,
is.
Once a
Right
Marine.
now, he's guarding the gates of heaven right now. So,
Hey, let me say this, Russ. You know my stepdad, Chuck Sawyers.
yes, sir.
He's a Marine too, and he's retired from Marines. And he said there is no former; it's always a Marine.
Right. Once always.
Right here, out of the camera.
Once Marine, always a
That's
Marine.
right.
That's better
Absolutely.
than saying ex-Marine.
That's right. Go ahead, Russ. We're go ahead.
Well, and Master Sergeant Sawyer's there. He's a guy that he's behind glass, So as soon as we have a conflict, in case of emergency, break glass, and Master Sergeant Sawyer's is going to come out of there. I think how old is he, by the way? You don't have to tell me that, but he's a senior citizen.
He's 76 now, and
76. And how many push-ups a day does he do?
there's no telling.
He doesn't do any that I know of.
No, more than
No,
that.
he does a lot of hard work.
Yeah, he stays
And,
active, very active.
He does do the what'd you call it, Chuck? That you do
Isometrics.
Isometrics.
That's what he does.
Yeah,
He's a bad dude. He's a bad dude.
yeah,
Of
he's,
course, he knows martial arts.
he's big time in martial arts.
Had his
Yeah,
own
yeah.
shop.
Yeah.
No joke.
No joke.
So to sum up what you said there, you said that Randy says he loves the horse painting in your background right there, and
Oh, thank you.
They have horses.
yeah, Monica says hello from Southern Louisiana, and Randy says,
Louisiana.
yeah,
I
Yeah.
love it.
and Ancestor Stalker 1 is watching from Illinois. So to
Oh,
sum that up, you said your people come from Rockcastle County area, Laurel, Rockcastle, Jackson County area. There's some coal miners there. Somebody's from Sweden. Somebody was a postmaster. Is that it? They're farmers, raise some cattle.
yeah, they raise cattle.
Let me say this: the family that our family is simple people. That's where we were raised, and my mother raised me the same way she was raised, and I'm sure her daddy raised her the same way he was raised. So, as far as back in the day, we didn't have internet. We just went with what was handed down generation to generation, story from story. But today, with the technology that you have and are presenting for us to have things, brought back to us, the truth. That's why we really don't know a lot.
Yeah.
Hand to mouth
stories.
Yeah. Hand to mouth stories,
which
can be
is good,
misconstrued.
but we'd like to have the truth.
Yeah, and I do know my grandmother on my mother's side was married 4 times, but she outlived all 4 of them.
Glad I wasn't married to her.
We're going to talk about her, and she cost me a couple of hours to unsort that. But I'm glad you already knew that. So,
Yeah,
her name was about this long, kind of thing.
I didn't know that. I just found that out, and I'm 56 years old.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that. So let's rock and roll here. You know a couple little things about your family, but what do you have any military veterans in your family besides
Yes, I do. I have a first cousin. His name was Morgan. His name was also Gilbert Morgan Gill, and he was in the Korean War.
Okay.
And your brother.
And my brother, Jimmy Gill, was in the Marines in Vietnam, just a little after Chuck was in there. And
how about further back? You got anybody further back?
I heard this story. I don't know if it's true.
Me, I don't know.
I heard this story that my dad's side of the family had a captain in some kind of a war that we had here in America, and his name was Captain Morgan. I don't know if you found that or not.
Or is that a horsetail?
But I didn't know.
I'm glad you said that.
I didn't know this till a few years ago.
Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind.
Because I'll tell you why. There was something about the Captain Morgan that I loved. Not the booze, but the statue. And I have one someone gave me, and I hang it on my Christmas tree every year.
Yes, she does.
In memory of my father. And I didn't know that when I started doing this. So it was something special to me.
All right,
the Captain Morgan.
So John Hunt Morgan, John Hunt Morgan is a famous Kentuckian in the Civil War. David Rugo says, "Howdy from Beauregard, Louisiana."
Louisiana Rose.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, man, absolutely. So
I got cousins live there.
So you just said Captain Morgan. Now, John Hunt Morgan is a famous Kentucky rebel, a famous Kentucky Confederate that roamed Kentucky, and he did have a statue right there in Lexington. He's at the courthouse. It's now at Lexington Cemetery. Do you think your people are Union or Confederate veterans?
They would probably be Confederate.
Okay.
That's what I would think.
They're going to be Northern.
I'm not sure, but that's what I think.
We have no idea. Really, truly, we don't.
How you doing, kid?
Honestly, we don't.
Right, I understand, and that's why we're doing this. So, Joyce, you said that your father, Tim, your grandfather, is Morgan Taylor Gill. He was born in 1904.
Yes.
July 1st.
July 1st. And we know that he was a coal miner.
Yes.
And Tim, do you know how tall he was?
He died when I was 8 years old. He looked to me to be 5'7", 5'10", 5'8", 5'7",
something like that.
5'9".
On the 1942, he registered for the draft of World War II. He was 5'6", 143 pounds.
A beast of a man.
He had blue eyes and brown hair.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blue eyes and brown hair. Tim, do you have blue eyes?
Yeah.
I have blue eyes.
He does.
There you go.
I do too.
My mom has them too.
Now, and his father, your great grandfather, John J. Gill. Have you heard that name?
Yes, I have. Yes.
He was born in 1863. 1863, man, that's during the Civil War.
Yes.
So, ma'am, Miss Sawyer, your grandfather was born during the Civil War.
That is amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's did you know him?
I didn't know him. He died, but he's buried in the family cemetery. I see his
Yeah.
grave all the time.
We
Absolutely.
have visited the gravesite.
And he lived for decades. He lived for decades in an area that's called Raccoon in Laurel County, Kentucky. Do you know where Raccoon is? Do you know anything that's relevant there?
Absolutely
Not
not.
Raccoon.
I don't.
No.
And I travel a lot like you do. I don't, and I've never heard that, Russ.
We actually have a video made from Raccoon, and there's a gentleman that owns Raccoon Springs. Raccoon Springs is in Laurel County, Kentucky. It's a very rural area, even today. And Raccoon Springs was a popular spot for long hunters in Kentucky. Okay. People that came into Kentucky before settlement. I'm talking about 1740 to 1775.
Really?
And the reason it's called Raccoon Springs is the story is that Daniel Boone was camping there one night. He was getting some water from the springs, and he looked up and he got scared to death because there's a raccoon there. So your family lived right there along Boone Trace, the historic Boone Trace. That's a pretty neat thing too, that your people have lived along the area that our first pioneer ancestors came through Kentucky right there. He also was a coal miner himself, kind of thing. So until about 1900, he moved to an area called Horse Lick. Have you ever heard of Horse Lick in Jackson County?
Yeah.
Been there, done that. Yes, sir.
Okay, you know about that. You have deep, deep roots on both sides of your mom's tree in Horse Lick.
Can I say something, Russ?
Yeah, of course.
That is a really high point in that area. I have pulled over and actually just took in what God had made there. Maybe, I don't know why, but I did that. I've done that a lot.
Yeah.
That's crazy, ain't it?
Yeah, those top of those ridge lines, you can actually see your taillights when you drive around the corner of those places that are up there. So, but, that definitely is some steep country, and that is a telltale sign of who you are. You are absolutely Eastern Kentuckian kind of thing as far as that goes.
Proud of that.
Yeah, deep roots there for sure. And we're going to talk about some people that first got their land there. Look at that. Randy says he has ancestors from Horse Lick. How about that?
Way to go, Randy. We might be kin, buddy.
You'd
be hard pressed to not be. So
you never know. That's correct.
Okay. Check to know if you're talking about the gills. You are talking about the gills, right?
In Horse Lick.
Gil.
Yeah, we're still on. Basically, your grandfather. Yes.
Yes. So Chuck asked me.
So his father, Tim, your second great grandfather, your great grandfather, his name was Samuel Thomas Gill.
Really?
Where do you think he was from?
What year was? Well, I don't know what year he was born. So if he
was born in 1835
in Virginia,
Pennsylvania.
I don't know. Chuck just said Pennsylvania, but
he was born in what is now today Lincolnton, North Carolina.
Really?
Yeah, which is a little bit west of Charlotte area there. So,
Russ, my brother lives 30 miles from Charlotte into South Carolina.
How about that?
Yeah, my son. Yeah.
My brother.
And if you know about the migrations of peoples into Kentucky, it is very common that Western North Carolina, Virginia, and South Carolina are the people that moved up into these areas. So, but he came a little bit later. He's born in 1835. We know that by 1900, he also was living there in Raccoon, there, and then in Horse Lick too. So now we're going to go back a little further to your third great grandfather. Let me back up. What we're doing here is we're going straight male line, and then we're going to until it dies, and then we're going to shift over to mother and go up. and then we're going to go back down. So it's going to be a little confusing to you. I have documents upon documents upon documents that's in your report. It's very, very, very nice report. It's very pretty, and there's a lot of documentation of what's going on. Randy says he has Gill ancestors on his tree from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Pretty cool.
There you go, buddy. There you go.
Yeah, man. So Ancestor Stalker says, love coal mine history and coal mine ancestors. Well, there's definitely some of that here. Go back to your third great grandfather. His name was Isaac, and I'm going to go a little bit quicker through this, guys, because we got a lot to talk about. And
Let's go. Yeah, we're good. Let's go.
And you're going to get this report here. You can have it tonight if you'd like. I can send it to you. But and your third great grandfather, Isaac Gill, was born in 1811 in Henderson, South Carolina.
Wow. Russ, what location is that area at?
Henderson, South Carolina is in the mountains. All of your people are living in the back country. When you start to go back there, they're not living in the what we'd say today civilized areas. They're living in the back country. They're living in log cabins, out there.
That's right.
Which is something to be daggone proud of for sure.
1811.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was born in 1811 in Henderson, South Carolina. We know in 1840 he was living in North Carolina, so he moved a little bit north there. But by 1850, he's living in Kentucky. So if you want to know when your Gill ancestors moved to Kentucky, it's between 1840 and 1850.
Wow.
So that's what we as genealogists, we read between the lines. We figure out what's going on there. So sometime between 1840 and 1850 is when your Gill ancestors moved to Kentucky.
This is awesome. This is awesome.
It is awesome. Yeah.
So his wife, your third great grandmother, Elizabeth Ann
That'd be her
Parker, she was born in 1810.
1810.
1810.
So
this is your third great grandmother, Tim.
I was going to say mine, right?
She wasn't born in the United States.
Really? She wasn't born in the
She
United
was
States.
born in England. Is that where it was from?
Absolutely not. She would have detested England.
Was she born
She was Irish.
Irish?
She was Irish. You're daggone right she was Irish.
I told my wife I had Irish in my blood.
Well, my dad always told me he was Irish. So.
You've already said it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, she was born in a little community called Sabine, Ireland. Now, if you want to look that up, that is barely in what they call Northern Ireland. The town of Sabine borders Ireland and Northern Ireland. And there's a whole nother story there. We can get into that whole the politics and stuff of that, of course, right there. But possibly she was Scots-Irish. That's who settled there in North Ireland. We're going. You've already said we're going to venture further back into her ancestry.
We are, as far as you go.
So, we're going to find that out. So your third great grandmother. So in reality, that makes what your second great grandparents, your first generation, your second generation, your grandparents, third generation. Your mother would be fourth generation American.
That's amazing. That's amazing to
Well,
me.
I have my great grandmother buried in London because I visit their graves. So
Who's that?
I don't even know their names. I go down and visit their graves, but
Was it Liza?
no, I'm talking about my dad's
Okay.
family.
Okay.
They're down in the Gill Cemetery. But I don't remember their names right offhand.
Sure.
My wife is standing on side here. My third great grandmother is from
I heard it.
Ireland.
That's why you like Danny Boy.
I'm a daddy boy freak.
Daniel O'Donnell.
I'm very
Russ, as soon as you said that, when they said, when Joy said England, and when you said that, she'd have been ticked about that one.
I think that was
I
on
knew
my-
exactly where you were talking.
That's my stepdad, Chuck Summers, talking.
Well, I
Oh,
was
he
saying
he
that
knows
my
what
The
mother,
people out there don't.
she's got family from England. My mother does.
Right. Let him-
And
Yep. Well, go ahead.
Sweden.
Good.
Yeah, so you know they are Irish, so you know you can claim it. And what's really cool about her is when I see stuff like that, I think I don't know about that, man. You know, somebody's put some stuff in there, but on every single census record, it's listed that she's born in Ireland. There is without a doubt
Wow.
she is from Ireland, and you know you can claim that, man. You know,
I'm
so.
proud of it. I'm proud of it.
I
I'm
always
very
feel
proud of that.
homesick to see Ireland for some reason.
Same with me, Mom.
Every time I see
Tim's going to go get a shamrock tattoo tomorrow. I
Yeah.
think.
And get some Irish whiskey.
Russ,
I've never had any of that. So.
Yeah, okay.
Russ, Joy's got a birthday coming up next month, so this is one nice birthday present.
It is.
Oh yeah, well, we better hurry up and get moving through her birthday because she's got a lot more presents here. You know,
Let's
kind of
go.
thing.
Let's go.
Yeah,
baby.
man.
Buckle
So
down.
your second great grandmother, her name was Nancy Dees. You ever heard the last name Dees?
yes, and Nancy too. Yes.
Dees or D. That would be your mom's great grandmother. Richard Perkins says, "Now that's a thought. Irish whiskey. I couldn't name one single brand of Irish whiskey, but you know, this is the man that married Samuel Gill.
Yeah.
Now, after her husband died, she lived on Winding Blade Road. We know in 1910 she lived on Winding Blade Road in Hazel Patch, Kentucky. So I wanted to bring that up because as a historian, I know where Winding Blade Road is. I've been on that. The reason why it's important is Winding Blade Road is Boone Trace.
That's where
Boone
we're-
Trace.
And Clay Ferry?
No,
Huh?
no, we're Laurel County.
Okay,
Yeah,
no.
this is still in Laurel County. So your people were living right on Boone Trace again. Now this is way after the settlement there, but I just wanted to bring that up that
Well-
your ancestors walked the ground where our pioneer ancestor Daniel Boone himself walked through. It's a very historic route right there.
Wow.
Your third great grandfather, her father William Dees, was born in 1806. Guys, we're more than 2 centuries back now, and in Barnwell, South Carolina.
South Carolina.
Yeah, Tim, I know you. Doesn't your brother live in South Carolina?
Yeah, he lives in Lake Wiley. And it's
Yeah,
a little bit of, we're from out here, Richmond, Kentucky.
Yeah.
His job took him there 14 years ago. Maybe
And
nobody.
we know by 1830 that he was living in Laurel County. So
Wow.
that particular branch is there, has been there at least by 1830.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Is anybody buried in South Carolina?
No. Well, not in this part of your tree. Yes, going further back, I'm sure we're going to find it.
But what we're talking about now, not.
Yes, correct. We're only getting back to basically your third great grandparents with this.
Okay.
Now, you interesting fellow, this next guy, your third great grandfather, William Dees, like I said, he was born in 1806. I checked this because it didn't make sense. And I checked it again and I found more documentation and I said, that still doesn't freaking make sense. And then I checked it and got a little bit deeper in there and I say, that's him. When he was 55 years old, in December of 1861, he went over to Camp Jackson and enlisted in the Civil War.
You're joking me. At 55, I'm 56.
Well, his paperwork says 45. So that's the first flag that threw me there. But as we get deeper and later on, we find pensions exactly with the record and we find some more documents and stuff. This is him. He lied about his age, said he was younger, and joined the Civil War. Now, he joined in December of 61. If you know your history, that's early in the war.
Yes.
That's very early.
Yes.
And I'll just go ahead and tell you, he wore blue.
He wore blue.
Go ahead.
Well, I don't know how Chuck knew, but he said He said that's the way it
my
was.
stepdad said
But-
it was probably Union.
Yeah.
He enlisted for 3 years, and he enlisted with a specialty. And there's only a couple of specialties people enlisted in the Civil War. He was a musician.
Yeah.
Really?
As a musician, which means that he played the trumpet, or he played the flute, or he played the drums, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which may have been why they allowed him in, as being as old as he was. But anybody musical in your talent, or have musical talent in your family?
Oh yes, my father was very musical. He played a guitar. He played a banjo and
We call it a French harp, which is a harmonica.
a harmonica.
And a Jew's part.
He played fiddle. Him and his brothers used to go to barn dances, and they all played music, and so they would play for barn dances.
And Mom, how many sisters and brothers do you have?
I have.
Yeah, tell him that.
Well, Daddy had 13 children, but he had 2 wives.
And every one of them can sing or play something.
We all can sing and play. We
Well,
love
you're talking about your daddy, who right now we're talking about his great grandfather.
Yeah.
And I think that's awesome too, because I actually have a 6th great grandfather that was a drummer in the Revolutionary War. And my family, very, very musical, and not me. I did not get that bone. But that I find that stuff so interesting when you see traits, because if he enlisted as a musician, he was an accomplished musician, you know, kind of thing. So
Well, yeah, because if he couldn't play it, his own men might have shot him.
Richard Perkins says, Tim, I can sing, but only after a few sips of Irish whiskey. We're back to Irish whiskey again. So, yeah. He was present with his unit. Now, you know, when people say, what battles was he in? The only thing we can really tell is we can see by the muster rolls, which I have, and they're in the report. They were present this month and this month with their unit. And you can look and see where their unit was during that time. He was at the Battle of Shiloh.
Really?
You've heard of the Battle of Shiloh, I'm sure. You'll have to visit there very soon, because you know that your 3rd great grandfather was there, Tim. And
visit there.
Yeah, he also was at the Siege of Corinth. But in July of 1862, his unit left him in Huntsville, Alabama, because he was deathly sick. They left him behind. He eventually got transferred to a unit, a convalescent unit at the hospital in Nashville, and he was serving as a cook at the hospital in Nashville. He stayed there for several months. Now, during the time while he was there, his unit was at the Battle of Perryville, and so he missed that battle. I know you're familiar with that battle, Tim, in Perryville.
Yeah, I go to Perryville quite often.
So had he not been sick, he would be with his unit, and potentially, I look at stuff like that. Oh, shoot, daggone it, he missed that battle. But guess what? He may not have survived that battle, and you may not be here.
I wouldn't be
That's
here.
true. I think about that. That's right.
Russ, can I intervene just real quick?
Of course.
Joy, you were talking about musically inclined, and she's a great singer, and she can pick up a guitar and hit a chord, or get on a piano and hit a chord. So she's carrying that legacy.
That trait.
Yeah, there you go.
That's where Timmy, I think, got a major part of his love in music is from his mama.
Yeah, I taught him to play the piano when he was 5 years old. He could play a tune, and he still can play that tune today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, see, there you go. That's
One thing.
where does this come from? You know, you got to read between the lines, guys. You know, you got to this stuff. There's a whole lot of people that talk about racial DNA or ancestral DNA or stuff that's embedded in who we are. What makes me what I am? We know that your 3rd great grandfather was a musician in the Civil War.
Absolutely.
Chances are the family had been musically inclined and continued that on down the line there. So, gosh, you got something to be proud of there.
Yes.
Kind of thing. So,
Well, you know, we think about
That's
you
why
know,
we love
our
music.
biggest thing when we have family gatherings or if it's a church service, whatever. But music I'm sure it is that way for a lot of people, maybe majority of the people. But music is a soul catcher. It's something that makes you just relax, or gather your senses, or cry with, or laugh about, or just enjoy, or whatever you may want out of music. And now, not that I didn't know that, but music is just something that's, I guess, been a family for since the beginning. I don't know, it's just awesome to hear that.
Yeah.
Without music, I just couldn't live.
And my dad, you did my dad's side,
Yeah,
and he was a musician,
like
travel all over the country.
That's what attracted me to his father. He was a musician.
Right. Go ahead, Russ.
Yeah. So eventually he actually got a medical discharge. He got a medical discharge. He enlisted for 3 years. He did about a year and a half in the Army. He was in his 50s, man. What a man, This guy, he was in Civil War battles and stuff like that. And he is, Tim, we have a copy of his disability certificate that it's in the report. We have a copy of a disability certificate from 1863. And it says the surgeon wrote he was discharged for being broken down and unfit for service.
Wow.
So
he gave it all. He gave what he had.
Absolutely. After the war in 1870, we find him in Pond Creek, Jackson County. So he moves back home, and he's a farmer. And he died in 1884, and we know where his grave is. We can go there.
Really?
We have a copy of his headstone. It has his Civil War unit stuff on there.
It's Pond Creek, Russ. Where's that close to that I would know?
I didn't look that one up, but we can find it. No doubt. I know where the cemetery is. I know where his headstone is. And but if I didn't say this already, I know I did, but I'm going to say it again. Dustin Blackson did most of the work on this report right there. I intervened and stuff like that, but Dustin Blackson, our genealogist here at Family Tree Nuts, did most of this work.
And we appreciate you doing that. Thank you, Dustin.
Yeah, thank you.
So now we're going to shift over to your third great grandfather, Stephen Warren, and he was born in 1824.
I've heard of him.
You've heard of him? It's a Warren name. A Warren name.
Warren name.
Well, something that I tell you, and you're going to get a little chuckle out of this, I think, but I'm in the same daggone boat, and most of us are. Most of your kin folks coming from the same area, and there's a whole lot of repetitive last names. So
you know what that means? Ain't a whole lot to choose from.
Right. So he's born in 1834 in Halifax, Virginia.
Yeah, I heard Virginia. Yeah.
Virginia, and he marries a Polly Eliza Wiseman in 1837 in Blount County, Tennessee. Now, I just went through that, and you didn't do the math. If you do the math, he's 13 years old.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I didn't pay attention. I should have listened.
Yeah, he's about 13 years old. That's important for 2 reasons. Yeah, he got married, and we have a really nice copy of the certificate there. Multiple records show that he's born at that time, so we know that that's the correct time. I was like, wait a minute, 13 years old, that might be a little off. And multiple records show that he was about 13. Now, when we talk about ancestors, he might have been 15, he might have been 12 and a half, kind of thing. But a lot of times their dates are off. If you really start looking at that, their dates vary as to when they're born. But he's about 13 years old. He's definitely pre-15. And the other reason why that's important is we know what about the time that they moved from Virginia to Tennessee. We can follow the migrations of your ancestors at that point. We know in 1850 he's working as a farmer. Now his wife died in 1855, and he remarried your ancestor, a lady by the name of Patsy Cobb. Is who he married, Patsy Cobb. And she's relevant because she's actually your ancestor. And in 1860, they lived over there on Stinking Creek in Knox County.
Where that is.
You know where that's at, Stinking Creek?
Jackson County?
And not in Knox County.
No, I know where it is in Jackson County, but not
Knox County. That's not nowhere
County.
Near Jackson County.
No, I don't know.
Well, as the crow flies, if you look this up, it's not too very far. We think about today the roads of what goes where.
That's true.
But basically,
going over the mountain, man.
you know, your people are living in southern Jackson County, northern Laurel County. Well, right next to that is Clay County, and then right over there is Knox County. Stinking Creek is important because it is right by Flat Gap, and Flat Gap is where the Boone's Trace, Wilderness Trail, the Warriors Path, they all came there and they split. That's a major crossroads in early Kentucky pioneer history. And the reason it's called Stinking Creek is because right there was at Flat Lick, there was a salt lick where animals would come around and guys would hunt and they'd throw them hides right in the creek bank right there. So it stunk to high heaven, you know, and that's where Stinking Creek. So once again, your family's living along Boone Trace. This is a theme kind of thing. I thought it's just a little side note kind of thing. Okay. We know he was born in 1824. He enlisted in the 7th Kentucky Cavalry that mustered out of Camp Dick Robinson, which is over there by Danville. It's kind of over there between Danville and Lancaster. And he enlisted on September the 22nd of 1861.
Wow. So how old was he then? The numbers.
Well, he was born in 1824. So what does that make him? 27. 20. Whatever. That, 28
years old.
27. Yeah. But in November. He died of typhoid.
Wow. In the military.
2 months into it. He was basically in his basic training there at Camp Dick Robinson.
And that's what?
Your third great grandfather.
And he had kids before.
That's now your second Civil War veteran that we've talked about on your mother's side.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
He enlisted and he died just 2 months later. I mean, that was the main cause of death, was sickness and stuff like that. But now his unit went on and fought at Perryville. They fought at the Battle of Richmond. They fought at Camp Wildcat, his unit later on, but he, of course, was passed away.
Right.
Kind of thing. So now I bring that up because you think about, I know that my ancestor could have fought at these battles, but he didn't because of this reason. So now when you drive past these places, you can think about that. So,
that's true, because his passion, his belief, and he would have done that, I'm sure, and died and gave his all for that. I'm sure he would have.
Yeah.
And by the way, he wore blue.
He wore blue.
Here we go. Here we go.
Did you already know that?
We're on a theme here. So,
Well, you know what? Go ahead, Russ.
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, gray or blue. That battle made us decide where we want to go in this country. So, if you're gray or you're blue, either way, this is a touchy subject these days. But I'm proud that my family did come from the blue. I had
a blue shirt and a gray beard there. So
well, I'm contradicting myself, ain't I? Thank you, Russ, for bringing that up.
Yeah, seasoned there, So,
there you go.
Right. I got some too, brother. But now, this completes Mom's dad's side. Now we're shifting over to Mom's side.
Here we go. I want to hear about this.
There's way more stuff to discover on that other line, but this is just at this where we're at on this package. So, grandmother, Tim, this would be, your mother, Miss Sawyers. As you know, Anna Jo Lear, born in 1913. I'm sure you knew her.
I knew that.
These are all new people to us, when we're doing the tree. She's born in Jackson County. Later on, she lived for decades up there in Horselick. We find her for a long time. Do you know what kind of education she had?
She went on to school, and then she became a cosmetologist, beautician, had her own shop for 50 years.
Did she graduate high school? Or?
Yeah, she did in East Brunswick, Kentucky. She went down there. She married my mother.
Let him tell you where.
According to the 1940 census, she had an 8th grade education.
Oh, really?
There we go.
Yeah. So, but which is
It's what it
incredible.
is. The truth is that's why we're doing this.
It's incredibly common. Very, very, very common. It's very rare for people to have a high school diploma in that time period. Very rare. When I find that, I think that's just totally unbelievable when you find out they had a high school education. She married Morgan Gill in 1932, and I guess later on she married Forrest Vetter in 1951.
Yes.
And she died, I guess, in 2006 there in Richmond, Indiana.
Yeah, 2000. I thought it was 2007.
It might be. So
No, it's 6. It's 6.
It's 6. Okay.
It's 6.
Yeah, and Tim, I think I knew you even clear back then. So
You sure did. You did.
Yeah. And her dad, your great grandfather Tim, Charles Lear, was born in 1867.
Really, I didn't even know his name. Now, let me say this.
Charles Lear.
Even to the viewers out here, there is very little that I know about my grandma's family because my grandma was very great. She was a good person, but she didn't talk a lot about her life. That was not a subject. That wasn't a subject.
Well,
Russ, can I say something?
This is
real
my
quick?
stepdad, Chuck.
Of course, yeah.
I remember going up and seeing her, and everybody calls me Chuck. Okay.
I call you Top.
She always called me Charles.
Yeah, she wouldn't call him Chuck. She called him
Well,
Chuck.
she liked the name Charles. Hence, that was her father's name.
And we didn't know that.
And
I didn't.
we
I
knew
know
it,
we didn't
yeah.
know that.
I told
But,
you, but you didn't listen.
She told me, she said, I told her, I said, well, you can call me Chuck. And she says, no, I'll call you Charles. I really like that name. That was my daddy's name, she said.
Well, there we go. I didn't know that story. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Russ. I'm sorry. Go
It's
ahead.
great. It's awesome how that stuff happens because he died. You never knew him, did you, Miss Saunders?
No.
You never knew him because he died in 1940 way before you were born.
Yeah,
So,
my mother was only when he died, compared to what you said, she was only about 10 or something like that
No.
23.
when her father died.
No,
yeah,
he got
she was born in
40.
13. He died in 40, so she'd have been about 23, I guess. She'd have been about 23.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Charles Lear, he's born in 1867. I mean, do you realize that your grandfather was born 2 years after the Civil War?
Tough
We
time.
do now. I do now.
That's wild. And
Tough time.
he's born in Jackson County. And
Yeah.
what's really cool about this is we actually have a few photos of him.
Well, that's awesome.
We have a few photos of him, and he's in the report. And by age 15, he was working in a coal mine in Rockcastle County.
Well, I didn't know that.
So, and he
15
was
years old and underground.
he couldn't read and write. His first wife, he married her at age 20. Her name was Rachel Brandstruder. I don't know if you know that name. He married her.
Brown stutters, what we called it.
Okay, Brandstutter. Okay.
Yeah.
Married her in 1887 there in McKee. And what's really neat, we have the marriage record from 1887, and I wish we could show this on here. We can't get it. We can't get it to where we can bring it to where you can see it really good because
Right.
you got to really have a trained eye to look at it. But it's in the report. You'll be able to see it. Charles is on there, but the principal for his wife is a man by the name of John Lear, same last name as him. I'd have to do some more investigation, but same last name, but he's the principal for her. So that's another example of how families living close together, and both of them signed their name with X's.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah,
What about that? Yeah.
on their marriage certificate. Yeah, Angel says that he was so young to be working in a coal mine. Angel Smith Walker there. Chris Luke says he's watching from
Half of
Camarillo.
I didn't even know he worked in the coal mines.
Yeah, Chris
Did
says
you
he's watching from Camarillo, California, kind of thing.
Well,
So,
California.
Yeah, I got one.
so at some point between 1910 and 1912, his wife died, who you're not related to, that Rachel. And in 1912, he marries Eliza Himes Wilburn McQueen Carpenter.
I've heard
So-
all those names. That's crazy.
That's my mother's mother. That's my grandmother.
Yeah, we'll talk about her here in just a second. Of course, they lived in the Horselick area, and in 1935, he was declared the postmaster, which you brought up earlier, which I thought was
Yeah, I
pretty
knew
cool.
that.
That we found the records of him as the postmaster, so I thought that was really cool that you knew that. And he died in 1940, before you were born, ma'am.
Yes.
And do you know what he died from?
No, I don't.
Epilepsy.
Really?
Anybody in your family have epilepsy at all? Or
Thank God, no.
No.
good, good. You would know where it came from if you did, so that's good.
Oh,
So,
no. It worked.
and what's really cool too is we have a really detailed copy of his deed, and that's in the report too. So you'll be able to see where his land was. It's very descriptive of where his land was, so we can go and find his land.
We've been down there.
Yeah,
Chuck. But he was a coal miner first and then became a
farmer.
Farmer.
a farmer, then a postmaster.
Yeah, postmaster. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, apparently postmaster was a little bit easier than coal mining
That was
farmer.
later in his life.
Most postmasters were older fellas, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But and later on in life, you know, he'd have been, I guess, about 58 before he started being a postmaster.
Yes.
Switching over to his wife's side, or your third great grandfather, his name was Charles Julius Spivey. What a cool name, Charles Julius Spivey. And Vicky says hello from Tennessee. I'm glad she said that because
Hi, Vicky.
he's born in 1812 in Washington, Tennessee, Washington County, Tennessee.
Washington.
Where's that at, Russ?
That's over there near Johnson City,
Yeah, so that's Eastern Tennessee.
East Tennessee. Born in 1812. That's important. We know that he got married in 1833 in Clay County. So the reason that's relevant is now we know about what time they moved to Kentucky from Tennessee. There's a beautiful handwritten 2-page marriage certificate when he was born. It's in the report. It's beautiful handwriting. It's 2 pages long about him being married there in 1833. And of course,
he wrote this, Russ?
No, he didn't write it because he signed it with an X.
Oh, wow. That's right. That's right.
Yeah, pretty cool. And what's really cool too is, and we're going to find out more about this as we delve deeper back into your ancestry here. But in 1849, he was presented with a land grant of 100 acres on Wild Dog Creek in Owsley County.
Owsley County, Kentucky.
Yeah, buddy. We're going
Really?
deeper and deeper in them hills, man.
Greenville, Kentucky.
Yeah. And
Wow.
and Wild Dog, and I know where that's at. That's out. Well, it's real close to Jackson County border right there. But
God,
he
that's
was granted 100 acres. Now, I'm like, why was he granted 100 acres? Well, he's born in 1812. It's probably going to be a clue that his dad might be a War of 1812 vet. I don't know that. We got it. That's in the next part of the report as we go deeper back.
You're probably right.
You know, so that's pretty cool that he was granted those acres there.
I was going to say real quick, I've known you a long time, and your hunches are pretty good. You don't do nothing half way.
Where
You either do it right or you don't do it.
you don't get a land grant for no reason, kind of thing.
Right,
So
that's right. That's right.
and so in October of 1863, he's 51 years old. And he joined the 47th
Oh my God.
Mounted Kentucky Infantry.
Oh my
The
gosh.
infantry.
He went over to, the mounted infantry,
Oh, the mounted. Okay.
and he went over to Irvin and enlisted.
In Irvin,
In 1863. This is your third veteran kind of thing. All these guys are up in years.
Yeah.
These guys are not. None of these guys are 20 years old. You know,
No.
kind of
no.
thing. So these
That's
guys,
amazing.
right? This is your third veteran. Now
You're brave.
he wore blue.
They all did, didn't they?
So we're getting a pattern here.
He wore blue, and
that earlier.
he was present with his unit multiple engagements against, I'll say it again, against John Hunt Morgan.
You're joking
Oh
me.
my gosh.
Yeah, so remember before you were thinking, oh, I had a guy named it's a Morgan that was my ancestor, and that's
John
our
Hunt Morgan.
Yeah.
go John Hunt Morgan. Your ancestor was chasing him and his men. he's the devil, kind of thing, as far as you
I
guys
don't know if that's good or bad now.
and he, if you know the story about John Hunt Morgan and his raising to Kentucky, you know, they went to Mount Sterling, which I know you know where Mount Sterling is.
Yes.
His unit, he engaged with Morgan's men. They had a skirmish with them at Mount Sterling. So you know your third great grandfather fought the Confederates right there. And
He
Mount
walked in
Sterling.
Montgomery County.
Yeah. Now check this out, Tim. I know you'll like this one. And on June the 5th, 1864, Morgan's men captured him right outside of Cynthiana.
Harrison County, Kentucky.
What about that?
The reason, and it's cool too, because when he was captured on his record, you're going to see it in the report. It literally lists he was captured and they lost a gun, a bayonet, a scabbard, 40 rounds of cartridges, and it lists all the different things that he had on his person when he was captured. This is important because 4 days later was the battle or it was the skirmish, I guess they call it there, Keller's Bridge. And if you delve into the history of the Battle of Cynthiana, you know, you go to the bridge, right? You go into town. 4 days later was that battle. So they were doing some preliminary stuff, and your ancestor was captured right before that happened. And then the Battle of Cynthiana happened there on June the 11th. So when that battle was going on, your ancestor was a prisoner of war with Morgan's men, John Hunt Morgan's men, until the battle happened. So the next time you go to Cynthiana, think about that. You go to Cynthiana, think about that and say, my third great grandfather was right here. He got captured and they had this battle and he was behind enemy lines as a prisoner of war.
I crossed that bridge.
Sound like
I crossed the bridge there 3 days ago.
Sound like he was in recon.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. He was doing some preliminary, work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I go through Cynthiana, and Russ, you do too. We go there a lot for what we do for a living. But I'll never look at that place again the same, man.
Right.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I would think he was there on a reconnaissance mission to find Morgan and find out how many troops he had to report back, and got caught.
That's what I would think.
It makes sense.
That's what I would think.
You know, you know that.
In my military mind.
Yep, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where what he's saying there is a gift to be able to put those pieces together to figure out. We don't know that exactly the truth, but we know that he was captured. We know without a shadow of a doubt that on that date he was captured. So and every day on June 5th, we just had June 5th. That's when your ancestor was captured right there up by Cynthiana. So isn't that really cool?
I'm just curious what happened after.
Oh yeah, that's not the end of the story. So,
No,
No, because you're still here.
yeah, Olivia Stewart says hello from Alaska. She's watching.
Alaska.
Amazing.
God bless you from Kentucky.
That's right. I want to get to Alaska.
Jimmy, ask her how's the weather up that way.
That's right.
How's the weather? He said, "How's the weather?" It's a little cooler than here, I reckon. So, but
I'm sure.
It gets hot up there, though. It does get hot. So we don't know how he got released. Was it a prisoner of war exchange or something like that? But by July the 18th, he was back with his unit. So we know he got captured on June 5th. By July 18th, he was back with his unit.
Or he could have.
And potentially earlier than that. But the reason we know that is because that's the date that he was promoted to corporal.
Really?
Could he have escaped?
Might have.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I like.
We'll think of it that way.
But he was a corporal. So they made him a leader of troops. He was a leader of men, kind of thing.
I love that. Yeah, I really
Well,
love
if he
that.
was in recon, he was a badass anyway, Russ.
He was recon.
I know. Yeah. I'm sure he was. If he was 51 years old and enlisted in the Civil War, he
And doing all this, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Absolutely. Don says that he's from Arkansas. He says his ancestor was with the Kentucky Mounted Cavalry, potentially in the same units there, maybe.
Oh, wow.
Go ahead.
Hello, Tom.
Yeah, he said, and his unit mustered out on December the 26th of 1864. They couldn't let him out on Christmas. Come on, man. You know, they let him out the day after Christmas. He got to go home there. The war was still going on.
Yeah.
And we know that he died somewhere between then and 1870, because in the 1870 census, his wife is listed as a widow. So we know he died after that. And his wife did get a pension in his name in 1890. So we know that, and we have his copy of it. We have a picture of his headstone, and we can go visit his grave also. All right. So now we're moving to the most interesting lady on here. And you already knew it a little bit. On your grandmother, Miss Sawyers, and Tim, your great grandmother, Miss Elizabeth Jane Himes Milburn McQueen Carpenter Lear. So, yeah, and it even said on her marriage certificate when she married Mr. Lear that she'd been married 4 times. It's her 4th marriage.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, she was. Yeah.
That's what got me to go dig it, because I saw that and I'm like, really? And there went another 2 hours of my life, you know, kind of thing that I thoroughly enjoyed, because man, we really got in there, and we've got all the records there. But she's born in 1877 in Carrico, Jackson County. You know where Carrico is?
I've heard of that, but
I sure do. Yeah.
Yeah. In 1895, she marries a fellow by the name of W.T. Milburn.
Yeah.
Now, first I looked in 1900, and she's listed as a widow, and I'm thinking, well, maybe he died. So I started chasing him a little bit. Nope. 1900, he's living down there in Laurel County. He's got a new wife that he married in 1899. And they actually had a child together, a fellow by the name of John Milburn. And when you chase.
Yeah, I know him. I mean, he was my uncle. I loved him.
Yeah, he'd have been your uncle. Yeah.
I was a little bitty kid. I loved him.
Right.
A lot.
Absolutely.
This is new to me too. Yeah.
I had a picture of him. Yeah.
Right. Pretty neat. And then so in 1896, he's born, a year after she's married. But in 1899, she marries a man by the name of Hamilton McQueen.
Yeah. Well, I was talking about the John, his son is the one I was talking about, was my uncle.
Okay.
Milburn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Johnny is what we called him, Johnny.
But the crazy thing about Hamilton McQueen is we're pretty sure that he died before they were married, about a year or so. We couldn't find any death records for him. We can go delve a little deeper in that. But we did some searching and stuff and didn't find any immediate death records. But by 1900, just a year later, she was living with her parents, and she has her maiden name listed on there, which could have been an heir, you know, kind of thing. But it does have the children that are listed on there too. Go ahead.
I was just saying, so they were married a year but had children.
They were married and had one daughter. Her name was Betty. She was born in about 1900.
Yes,
Betty,
I know Betty, yeah.
Betty McQueen.
She's dead, but I knew her when I was little.
Yes, ma'am.
Her house.
And then in 1901, she marries a man by the name of Liberty Bell Carpenter.
Yeah.
Liberty Bell.
What a cool name, huh? Liberty Bell.
Yeah. With Johnny Carpenter's dad.
Liberty Bell. That's a
and that raises the Carpenters. And you got to know a little bit about history to even. And I don't know this. I don't know this yet, because we'll chase that later. But there's a Carpenter station there on the border of Lincoln and Casey County. So the Carpenter is a deep, deep name in Kentucky history. They had 2 children named Milt and Albert.
Yeah.
And then in 1908, Liberty dies. Her 3rd husband dies. Yeah, she's just, 41 years old. And in 1910, she's living with her mother. Her father's deceased, but she's living with her mother with 4 kids, and they eat, and there's 3 last names, 3 different last names between the 4 kids.
Well, she had a kid with Liberty too.
Yes. 2 kids.
Each one.
Well, she had 2 kids with Liberty.
Are you talking about my grandmother?
Yeah.
Okay, had 4 kids by him.
Yeah, she had John
Okay.
Milburn. John Milburn,
Yeah, she had John Milton. She had a son
Yeah.
named that too.
Betty McQueen,
Yeah, Betty McQueen.
and then she had Milton Albert Carpenter.
Yeah, Albert. That was my favorite uncle, Albert.
There you go.
My grandmother's son.
I remember that name.
And then in 1912, she marries Charles Lear.
Yeah.
Who we talked about. And of
Which
course, there in 1914 or something like that, your mother was born.
13. Yeah. Grandma
My
was
mother
born.
was born in 1913.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so right after that, you're not descended from all these guys here, but what
That's the question, Russ. There is a discrepancy of my grandma's actual birth date in our family
Okay.
My mother,
with certain people. What was the date that you found that my?
I'll have to. I'd have to jump off of here and dig that up, but I've got
Just
that.
let me know later. You can let me know some other time.
We've got her death certificate, so we got her birthday on there.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
But Ruth James Thompson says that she's watching from Southport near Liverpool, England. So
Oh my God!
hello there in England. So
Hello.
nice to talk to
Thank you. Thank you.
It's middle of the night for her, I reckon. I think it's about
Enjoy.
1 hour difference for her. So
Absolutely.
Paul is watching from Utica, New York.
Wow.
Go New York.
Yeah, yeah, man, we've got them all over, don't we, tonight?
That's
So,
right.
So we're almost done here. Your second great-grandfather, John Himes, was born in 1841 in Tennessee. What's really cool is we do have a picture of him and his wife. He's born in 1841. That's your great-great-grandfather. This is really cool because as we talk about John, we have a picture of him. I want you to remember that.
Hey, that's 100 years. That's 100 years before my mother was born. She was born in 41.
You don't have to tell everyone that.
Well, no, she ought to be proud of that.
You
I
might
thought that was your
witness
sister, man.
a whack in here.
Hey, that was a hillbilly move there. Sorry.
He's already told everybody. So
We're good.
You might
it's
witness.
okay with me. I'm
Tim-
proud.
Yeah, you might witness Timmy
I'm
getting a
proud of
whack in here in a
myself.
minute.
That's what they're teaching me.
We're good. Go ahead.
Crazy. So 1850, they lived in Tennessee. In 1860, we don't find him in a census. We dug and dug there. We don't find him in a census. That's not uncommon because he would have been of age. At that point, he'd been about 19 years old. He could have been living lots of places, working and things like that. But we do know his parents were living there in Raccoon in Rockcastle County, or in Laurel County, I'm sorry. So we do know that his parents were living here by then. So he could have been living around Tennessee, Kentucky, we're not sure. In 1862, now he's only 19. In 1862, you want to guess what he did?
Join the military. You're right.
This is your fourth one.
I didn't even know that.
He joins the 10th Kentucky Cavalry. And he went to Lewis County in Tollsburg to enlist. And that threw a flag up for me because that's a little bit far. And we wonder, why did he go all the way there to enlist? But there's deeper documentation. We've got the right guy.
Because Lewis County is on the edge of the state going into, it's a long ways from here, man. And that's a long trip back in that day.
It is. And he was in the cavalry. And that's what I would have wanted to be in if I was in the Civil War. Because he wasn't walking, so he was in the cavalry and he had an amazing military war career because they could move and move fast kind of thing. We know that his unit scouted and had many skirmishes, once again, with John Hunt Morgan's men over there in Mount Sterling. Once again, I forgot they were blue, by the way. 4 for 4, they were in blue. But,
wow.
They were chasing Morgan's men. They chased Morgan's men all stinking over Kentucky kind of thing. They were, Morgan, as you know, would come in and raid and burn courthouses and burn supplies and tear up railroads. Well, your ancestors chasing those guys, kind of thing. So, They were chasing after them. The battle. None of these are battles. They're all minor skirmishes. But
skirmishes, exactly.
The interaction that they had with enemy troops, he had about a dozen of them, kind of thing.
Kind of a deterrent. You know, get them out here. Don't let them set up.
And Mount Sterling, there is a skirmish there in Florence, Kentucky, from Christmas 1862 to January 1st. They did an expedition down into East Tennessee. If you know about the battle or the Civil War fort there at Boonesboro, they were chasing these guys. They would come up from Tennessee and raid on the cavalry, tear up some stuff, and then run back into Tennessee. Your ancestor chased them back down in there, was chasing over them. He chased Fluke's forces. They were at Slate Creek and Stoner's Bridge right there in Mount Sterling again, second time. They went into eastern Kentucky. They were all over western Virginia around Saltsville. You know about the Battle of Saltsville, how the people were trying to, the Confederates were trying to get the salt that was there to make gunpowder.
And Boonesboro had a lot of salt.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it goes on and on and on and on and on about this particular ancestor chasing the Confederate cavalry all over, central and eastern Kentucky, Tennessee, and Virginia. So it's pretty exciting guy. The guy would have had some serious stories to tell.
That's amazing information. I can't wait to sit down and actually just read it and go through it.
Yeah. And he mustered out in September of 1863. There was still a whole lot of war left, and he finally went home. He had enough of it, kind of thing, and he went home, kind of thing. In 1870, he lived in River in Jackson County, and he was a farmer. He was unable to read or write during that time of his life, and he died in 1888. We do have a picture of his headstone. We know where he's buried. We can go visit there once again. We ought to do a day one day, Tim. Just drive around to all these guys and take your picture in front of these Civil War veterans.
Well, Russ, you offered that to me or so ago on my dad's side, and I was so busy.
Yeah.
You're the real deal on this stuff, brother. You'll go with whatever.
We'll do it one day. We'll do your mom's side too. And, I don't even remember how many you had Civil War. How many Civil War veterans did you have on your dad's side?
I would be lying if I told you up front. I don't know.
There's 3 or 4. This is did you know you had 7 or 8 Civil War veterans?
I had no clue until you pulled this up. I had no clue.
Every one of them wore blue.
I know that. That's crazy. That's good. That's good.
Take that rebel flag and burn it. No, I'm just teasing. Don't do that.
I think they said one was named Captain Morgan. Was my
they chased him around for sure.
But they said that he was in our family. But
right,
and I believed them.
Drinking as they chased him.
Well, there's many Kentuckians want to be part of that beautiful legacy of and stuff.
Well,
so.
My dad's name was Morgan, and so
yep,
he was named after somebody.
The stories get just a little bit changed and twisted, though. We're almost done, I promise. Your third great grandfather, William Hines. William Hines was born in 1809. We're all the way back in 1809. I'm pretty sure I know.
Hines.
Is that a Himes with an N as a Nicholas, or M was Mark?
Honestly, Tim, it's spelled 75 different ways. It's spelled Hymes. It's spelled Himes. It's spelled Hines. It's spelled people. They wrote it down how they found it. It's spelled multiple ways on multiple different records. The way we know it's the right people is we look at the dates and the locations and the birthdays of people, and and later on records to match it up. There's a lot of science that goes into that, but we know we got the right people. But he was born in 1809 in Woodbury, Pennsylvania.
Woodbury, Pennsylvania.
Where the heck is that at in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, that's over there, kind of eastern Pennsylvania. That's usually your Pennsylvania Dutch. Don't know that yet. We're going to go deep in there. I'm going to find this stuff out, kind of thing. But that's probably a German name, that over there in Pennsylvania.
1809, Russ. 1809.
We're back, over 200 years again. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I know who his parents are, but I didn't put it in this report because that's part of the settler package.
We're good.
It's some stuff in there. I just did a little bit of peeking. I'll shut up now. But we know by 1850 he's living in Tennessee. And in 1860, he's living in Jackson County. So when you want to know where your Hineses were, they were in Pennsylvania. They moved to Tennessee for a little bit, and we know that at least by 1860 they were in Jackson County. And he died in 1876 of we know he died of lung disease in 1860.
Wow.
Now, his wife is a kind of an unusual lady. Her name was Eliza O'Donnell. So we know, once again, we've got an Irish line probably there. And she was born in 1822 in Washington, Tennessee. Now, the reason I say she's interesting is because in 1862, well, first of all, her husband died in 1876, but in 1862, she buys some land.
In Tennessee?
No, and on the Laurel Fork of the Rockcastle River down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know exactly where that's at.
That's right.
And she,
Yeah.
Where your grandma.
Yeah, the land is still there because we
in
got
18,
That there's a piece of land that's still in the family there.
yeah, it's still there. We got
It's
I'm wondering if it'd be cool if that was it. You'd know, in 1862, she bought it for $200.
$200.
That's a lot of money back then.
Two hundies, man. She bought that land.
Land.
I thought that was pretty cool. And
She must have some cash.
yeah, and what it looks like too is there's a family group of people there that we've talked about. It's going to be hard for just to explain this to you, but when you see it and you see the tree and you see how it's made, there's a family there of Faubus. Have you heard the last name Faubus?
No.
Maybe it could be Fabus. I'm not sure how. It's Faubus.
No.
There's a Fabus cemetery where many of your ancestors are buried up there in Jackson County. And it looks like this whole family group moved from Tennessee to the Jackson Rockcastle County area and lived there, and they intermarried a little bit there. So it looked like
Yeah.
we'll find more out about that, I'm sure, as we get deeper back in your tree. So that completes the what we call the settler pack or the pioneer package of your mom's side of the tree. An observation there is you have deep roots in Jackson, Rockcastle County, and into Tennessee and North Carolina and back into South Carolina. And you have some pretty patriotic ancestors going back. I mean, we've got 4 Civil War veterans, and 3 of them were older when they joined up. So
I know that's amazing. That's amazing. I'm so proud of that. I'm so proud of that. I know my mother
I'm
is.
very proud. Yes. Very, very proud.
But that was a common.
And Chuck,
in the Civil
Chuck
War.
brought something up. Military is to back then. You fought what your heart led you to do. You fought what was. You didn't know if he's going to lose. You couldn't pick up the phone. You couldn't get on the internet. You couldn't call somebody. You couldn't. You did what you heard and what you felt in your life. And these guys did that just straight out of, in my opinion, I got to take care of business here, no matter what year you was.
Yeah.
Left the
Right,
farm
coming
and
off
went.
the farm, as he says.
right. And yeah, I mean, so now that these people have been revealed to you, what do you think? Where are we at?
I had heard that my grandmother, Liza, we called her Liza, that she had bought the 200-acre land down in Jackson County. Is that what you said? I had heard that. And she sold a lot of it off.
Yep. We found where they sold it a few years later. Yeah.
Yeah, she sold some of it. And that's what's left is 7 acres down there. And that's where we go visit a lot, me and Chuck.
That's where your grandmother lived.
Yeah, my grandmother lived there.
I spent a lot of time there.
And I spent time there when I was a little girl, across from where they lived in the Indian Creek, they called it. And my grandmother would fish and take me with her,
Rockcastle River.
take me and my twin sister with her, but which runs into the Rockcastle River.
And isn't it neat to be able to put these stories? You just said something. You painted a picture. You said fished. We fished.
Yes.
And I'm finding some records here, in 1862 that they bought that land. I mean,
Right,
how cool is
right.
that? I mean, that's where you take real life stories and put it with the history of.
And it comes to life.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you know, what got me really truly thinking about this, you know, we lost there was my sister, my brother, and then me. I'm the baby. We lost our sister last year, unfortunately,
Yes,
and
we
it's still
sure
my
did.
brother, and he lives in South Carolina, and I'm here in Kentucky. And my mother, you know, I wanted her to get this before time gets away from us. I'm gonna put it that way.
Yeah.
Before time gets away from us, that's why we need to find people, you know, in our family tree that we are still able to understand it, to maybe trace it, and talk to people like you, Russ, that are really trying to help families where you come from for our next generations to come. And you're doing a great job. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy that you told us what you told us and revealed what you revealed to us.
Well, you know where your roots are.
I know where my roots are, as my stepdad said. Absolutely.
There are some two that you didn't mention their names. My mother had a sister named Clara and one named Vina.
You sure did. I remember Aunt Vina
And my sister was named after Aunt Vina. And that was by the Lears, Lear, Lear, my grandmother's last husband. She had four of them.
Wow.
But
Yeah, it's a lot of research, though.
I want to go back and ask you a question that I meant to ask you a while ago, but I didn't get involved. There was one of her husbands, you said that she didn't outlive or something, that maybe they got divorced. Is that true?
Yeah, we find him in 1900. They married in 1895. She married again in 1899, or I think, and then he actually remarried in 1899 also.
Okay.
And he didn't die until 1942.
Okay, so
Wow.
she didn't outlive him then. She just divorced him, or he
And
divorced
she wouldn't have
her.
been married to him very long, so there's the story there. I mean, you know,
Well, I
there's
didn't
no
recognize that having any ancestors with that last name that you mentioned.
They're
So
not blood related to you, the Milburns, but
Oh, the
would be
Milburns,
cousins.
that's not the one I'm talking about. Milburn's, didn't he die?
Milburn didn't die. He moved. We know he lived in later on. He lived till 1942. But
That's I thought you said, I'm following with you too.
Yeah,
Russ, on this.
so-
then there's a McQueen that died, and then there's
Yeah,
a Carpenter
McQueen.
that died.
Carpenter, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then she married Lear.
And then she married Lear. Yeah, that was my first grandpa.
Tell him that you still visit your cousin.
Yeah, I
Johnny
still
Carpenter.
visit my cousin. I still marry my cousin. His name is Johnny Carpenter, and he
Yeah.
lives down there in
You still visit.
right down there in what's the name of that little town? Anvil.
Anvil. What's that about?
Below.
Right out of the
That's close to Horse Lake, you know.
Yes.
And,
Very close to Horse Lake.
yeah.
He still goes down. We go down once in a while and visit him.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild? Yeah.
Yeah.
Now you know. Now you know the story there. And, you know, you wonder, how am I connected to the Carpenters? Now you know. You know. So.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So.
Man, we appreciate everything you've done. So, I mean, you've
Oh
done
yeah.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
This is the second one you've done for us, and we really appreciate it. You've done an awesome job.
Now we're getting ready to get real deep. Now we get into the next step we go is we go deeper into the tree. We go deeper and, you know, start into the American Revolution, about people that settled on the frontier, when they came to America, where they came to, and why they came to America.
I
So
can't wait.
that's what's in store for the next ones that we find. And I just did a little bit of peeking, you know, and I'm like, I'm going to be on there. I'll be up all night long, you know, looking at this. But that's where we are now. So Pamela Kunkel says that she's watching from Pennsylvania. You know,
Way to go, PA.
Yeah.
yeah, you've got a
Wow,
little-
yeah.
You might be-
Russ, I have to get you to hunt up some of the horse thieves in my
That's my stepdad.
yeah, they probably don't have any records. Those are probably outlaws, like you said.
I think it's like
yeah.
yeah, and Frank, maybe.
Well, he had a doctor. His great grandfather was a doctor, traveled on a horse. I heard about that.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah. And wait till you see this report. You're going to love it. I mean, it's got all these documents in there. I brought them up and stuff, but it's full of documents and stuff. It's really cool to see that it goes into play there. Vanessa says Vanessa Hall, I'm guessing you probably know her. I really enjoy listening to our family's ancestry. So fascinating.
Yes.
And
Awesome, Vanessa.
Hi, Vanessa.
Gail Heinlein Taylor says that her mother's maternal family is from Johnson's from Jetts Creek in Breathitt County. Pamela Kunkel says her grandpap was a blacksmith too. So,
Yeah.
but yeah. So has anything? Ancestor Stalker says that it's really been fun watching these two be introduced to the folks that gave them their threads. Thank you for letting us join in. So
You are more than welcome
thank you
on our
for
part.
joining us.
And you know what?
We appreciate it.
This has just been an eye-opening experience, and it's something's going to have to soak in for a while. But we're so thankful for that we were able to find you, Russ, that does this for a living. I've known you for a while, but to just do this kind of background in our family tree is just you really want to know where you come from.
Yeah.
And,
you
and
really
you and you're
do.
making that possible. We thank you for that.
And I was so surprised to find so many of my ancestors that were in the military. And what I was most surprised about, that they were in the Union, wore the blue. I was really surprised.
I was expecting you to be surprised about that.
Yeah.
A lot of that had to do with where they lived. I
Yes.
mean, a lot, up there and things. So, there's a lot of reasons you've got to let when you lay down and go to sleep tonight, ask yourself, why did these men, older men, late 40s, early 50s, why did they join up the military? They had a very strong conviction and a reason why.
They did, yes.
I have my own answer to that. I think
They're
that
just
they
like-
love their country,
Yeah.
that they adored, and they knew that if they didn't do something, who's going to do something?
Yes. And
That's right.
And they were against slavery. They wanted to abolish that war, get rid of it. So that explains a lot.
It's interesting. Yeah, it really is for sure. So
They had convictions.
That's what I think. Because
I mean, that's what I think. Yeah.
sure. Yes, ma'am. Gail says her husband's mother's side is from Lee County. Captain David Hogan. We'll have to check that out. So,
Yeah.
Lee
pretty
County.
cool. So,
Well, up
anything
there-
else you'd like to say before we take off tonight about your ancestors?
Well, I'm just so proud, to learn about some of the things they've done. I'm so glad that you found all this out, because I would have never known it if you hadn't have done the research.
Well, remember, I'll say again, Dustin Blackson, genealogist here at Family Tree Nuts, did a majority of the work. I just, checked over it and stuff. But
Yes.
you've got so much to be proud of. These
I was
people
so
are not
proud
going
of
to
my
live forever.
grandmother,
Yeah.
Lear. I was so proud of her, Liza, her buying the 200 acres on her own. And she was a great woman. She died when I was 18. So she was the one that took me fishing a lot. And down there in that creek, it was a big creek. It was,
So,
yeah.
but Russ, on my part is I just want to let you know, and everybody listening out there, this is not a sales pitch, but if you want to find things out about that, give Russ a call, man, because he's brought things on my dad's side and on my mother's side I didn't even know. There's a lot of things I didn't know. And it's not, it's not going to be overnight. It takes a little time to do this stuff. But give Russ a call, because he's opened doors for in our family tree that we never would have known.
That's exactly right. That's the man to call.
Yes, he
That's for
is.
sure.
'Cause he don't do it half-assed.
And the guy that helps him. I have one more question to ask you before you leave. Was I correct in saying that it was my grandmother, Liza Lear, that bought the 200-acre farm?
No,
What?
it was Eliza O'Donnell.
Was it her mother?
1860.
Eliza O'Donnell Hines.
Oh, okay.
When?
Yeah.
When?
What year was that?
That would have been 1862.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's the
Well,
that's, that's the land that my grandmother ended up with.
Right. Same land. Yeah.
She ended up with 200 acres because I've heard so much about that 200 acres that they had.
That's a lot for
And
a
I
woman.
was
You know
there.
what? That's a lot.
And
That's a lot for a woman to
was
buy
there.
that time.
When they
Yeah.
had it.
Just think it was
And there was a lot of woods there, a lot of big mountains.
Yeah, I heard you.
Big
It's
rock.
curious
Yeah.
why she bought it, not her husband. Ruth says, my first time watching, and yes, it is late here. She's in England. And my DNA suggests that I have a New Jersey family. And my husband has an uncle, Alfred Winwood, who went to Pennsylvania from Liverpool in 1905. So really cool. Really good stuff.
You'll have to call Russ.
We've got so many people on our waiting list right now, but we'll get you taken care of. Vicky says bye from Tennessee. Vicky's one of our
Okay.
watchers.
Bye-bye, Vicky.
So, all right, well, we'll check out of here. It's not going to be that long. I'm gonna shift gears, and I'm gonna personally get on the tree of Mom's back even further, Tim. And
Okay, that sounds good. Yes.
real quick, and maybe even as early as this evening. I'll have a hard time keeping my mouth shut because I saw some stuff that's in there. But you're in, you're in for it, man. You're in for it. This is great stuff, but we've got some better stuff coming, I think. Or some bigger.
We've got to look forward to that.
Thank you, Russ.
Yeah,
Thank
man.
you so much, Russ.
And thank you, Family Tree Nuts.
Yes.
Yeah, glad for the opportunity.
Yes.
Yes, man. So we'll sign off for now, guys. And hey, guys, remember, if you want to know some more about it, give us a shout if you'd like. And make sure if you like this stuff, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We've got tons of new stuff coming out here in the next few weeks. We're real excited about.
Okay.
We'll sign off for now. Make sure you honor your ancestors. And hey, remember, Family Tree Nuts. Let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree.
Thank you.
What impact did your ancestors have on your country, on your state, on your county, and your community? Do you descend from money, poverty, outlaws, business folks, farmers, or just regular people? Do you have an ancestor that fought for American independence? Did an ancestor raise a rifle for the War of 1812? Did they wear blue or did they wear gray? What did your ancestors look like 100, 150 years ago? What amazing females are in your line, and what impact did they have on their families and their communities? Have your people been in America for almost 400 years? Or are they just a few generations from off the boat? What countries did your ancestors immigrate from? These are questions that almost everyone has, but so few have the answers. As genealogists, we hear almost on a daily basis that I would love to know about my ancestors, but I don't know how to find out. I don't have the time to find out. Or I don't want to pay for those expensive membership fees. We can do it for you. Family Tree Nuts specialize in making family trees for our clients. We have packages big and small to meet most needs and budgets. We can chase one line or multiple lines of your family tree, a few generations, or sometimes hundreds of years. We provide you with detailed, professionally written reports that will be a family treasure forever. Our national team of genealogists have the experience and the networks to make the discoveries that you have always wondered about. Your ancestors are calling out, waiting for you to rediscover them and their stories. Let us help you make it happen.